But let's move on to our main story tonight and something that has shocked the United States and the world. And no, I'm not talking about the Kanye and Kim divorce, although I always thought they would grow old together. Well, not really. I didn't think so. But seriously, let's talk about the events since the US election in November that led to an armed insurrection on the US Capitol that left 5 people dead and inflicting severe damage to American democracy. There's a lot to unpack here for those of you who haven't followed closely. So let's walk through it and maybe give some kind of telenovela feel so it's more interesting.
Donald y sus amigos no les gustan perder.
First, this guy was a sore loser after the presidential election. Wait, Hector, ese no es el otro. Por favor, Hector, cambias. This guy was a sore loser after the presidential election. And it wasn't just even after, even months before the election, he was talking about how it was going to be rigged, how it wouldn't be fair, and even warned his supporters to get ready for violence.
What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
Who would
white
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
Stand back and stand by. People would think that it was just Trump's words. Yeah, it's Trump saying something stupid again, whatever. But the election happened, which ended up with his Democratic challenger, Joe Biden, winning by more than 6.5 million votes. It wasn't close like in the 2006 Mexican election, when candidate Felipe Calderón defeated current president Andrés Manuel López Obrador by only 250,000 votes. There's a big difference. So for months, the president, along with his lawyers, including mole-loving Rudolph Giuliani, yes, I'm convinced he had way too much mole that day, prepared bogus lawsuits and false accusations of voter fraud, that dead people voted, that the laws in the states were rigged, that legions of futuristic folkloric Sanborns waitresses invaded the United States and voted for Biden. Wait a second, that was just a weird dream I had this week. I've been dreaming a lot, okay? And they lost almost every single lawsuit. There was absolutely no evidence of widespread voter fraud that could have changed the outcome of the election. Yet Trump, his lawyers, some right-wing news media outlets, and elected Republicans were continuing to avivando las llamas, to fan the flames, and consistently push this message that Joe Biden did not win the election and that it was fixed. And
where every fraudulent vote cancels out the vote of an honest America has sided with the extremist left. The United States Congress needs to make an informed decision, and that starts with this objection.
That's right. In a poll last month, 77% of Republicans think there was widespread voter fraud, and 40% feel that Biden will not be the legitimately elected president. Let's fast forward to January 6th, the day when the Congress certifies the election results and declares the candidate with the most votes the official winner. This happens every 4 years, and until this year has been largely ceremonial. It's kind of like someone trying to steal the banda presidencial before he can present it to his successor. The president, in his desperation, tried to coerce the vice president to stop it all from happening. And the vice president was like, heck no. And the president said, well, if you don't, then you're a pussy. I can't make that up. He actually said that. Sounds insane? Yes. He also actively encouraged his fanatical supporters to come to Washington to intimidate members of Congress to support this action. So the morning of, Trump and his friends held a rally on the lawn of the White House to gas up supporters, and this is what Donald Trump said.
We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved. Our country has had enough. We will not take it anymore. And that's what this is all about.
Yes, this is what the president of the United States said last Wednesday. And then his son came on stage and said this.
This isn't their Republican Party anymore. This is Donald Trump's Republican Party.
And then Donald Trump's personal lawyer, Rudolph Giuliani, the guy with the mole, said this.
And if we're wrong, we will be made fools of. But if we're right, a lot of them will go to jail. So Let's have trial by combat.
Let's have trial by combat. What does that mean? Are they just words? But words have meaning, especially coming from somebody who's on the same stage as the president of the United States. So trial by combat, ready to fight, and many of those had guns, some wearing military camouflage. They marched from the White House to the Capitol building where Congress was in session. As they moved to the Capitol, they broke through barricades and clashed with police who were outnumbered as the insurrectionists broke windows and doors to break into the building. But by the way, can we just take a pause from the story for a second and take a look at those outfits? I mean, they raided a Halloween costume store or something before they stormed the Capitol. And this guy was either at a Minnesota Vikings tailgate or pretty much copied my costume in 2017. Don't judge. I was a big fan of the TV show The Vikings. And by the way, most of these guys were white men. Sanborn's waitresses were not part of the riot, but if they were, I'm sure they'd have a nice smile and give out enchiladas mineras at the barricades, and maybe they could have deterred the attack. Okay. Back to the story. Members of Congress and the leadership, including the vice president, the Speaker of the House, and leaders of the Senate, were taken away into an undisclosed location inside the Capitol, something that hasn't happened since 9/11. The National Guard didn't come until hours later because the Trump administration had to authorize it, and they did not. The Capitol was not secured until after 8 p.m., almost 7 hours after the insurrection began. The Congress reconvened immediately under these extraordinary circumstances, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, finally certified Joe Biden to be the 46th president of the United States. It was a dark day. 5 people died, including a police officer, and it was all incited by the sitting president of the United States and a number of members of Congress. There also have been reports that members of Congress, listen to this, gave leaders of this insurrection tours of the Capitol the day before. There is an ongoing investigation in this, but just imagine elected officials helping armed insurrectionists do reconnaissance work. And remember, some raided the Capitol with the intention to kill, including the vice president and others. So where are we today? Donald Trump is still the president for another 6 days. His term of office expires on Wednesday, January 20th at 12 o'clock p.m. In a poll published today, 56% of Americans support his removal for high crimes and treason against the government of the United States. The Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, said that he represents an imminent and present danger to the country. There are a growing number of Republicans who feel the same. He has been called on to resign, and honestly, we'd probably see a Taco Bell in the Zocalo before he'd do so. And many have been talking about the 25th Amendment to the Constitution, which states that the vice president and a majority of the president's cabinet can remove the president if he is unfit to serve. Trump's gang were literally chanting, "Hang Mike Pence," as they stormed the Capitol, but the vice president declined to take that action. So instead, for the second time, President Donald J. Trump was impeached by the House, and a trial to convict him is expected to begin next week. And this is going to be after he leaves office. So why have a trial after he leaves office? Because if he is convicted, he will lose all of his Secret Service protections, his annual pension, and be barred from running for office ever again. This is important because some expect Trump to run for president again in 2024. So there are some Republicans that just want him gone, and there's a possibility they will decide to convict him. Trump has been shut down. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, his favorite Twitter suspended his account. The PGA golf tournament canceled the championship at a Trump course, and he's not happy. Actually, what made him most mad, the golf tournament 100%, followed by his Twitter, and then impeachment, probably in that order. Sounds like what happens to a 16-year-old when they're grounded. So this has been a lot. But a lot happened, and I hope those of you who have been watching bits and pieces now have a full understanding of what took place on January 6th. This is going to be a day that will live in history. The country has been weakened, is in shock, and is in mourning. But it's not over yet. Chatter is happening all over social media about armed riots in all 50 state capitals and in Washington from Sunday until the inauguration. Let's hope that doesn't happen, and let's hope that everybody says safe.